Live from Central Kentucky's WCYN studios, you're listening to Quarantainment, a live entertainer's response to COVID-19. Each week, we interview industry professionals from around the world and gain insights into how they're coping with the adverse effects of the coronavirus and creatively adapting to the new normal. Without any further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome to the proverbial stage award-winning illusionist, escape artist, actor, your host, and creator of the Quarantainment podcast. This is Reed Masterson.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Quarantainment, the socially distant podcast. My name's Reed Masterson, and this is episode 7. And that intro just never gets old. Speaking of intros, this week's episode may be the most bizarre episode yet. You've seen his work on the CW's Penn and Teller Fool Us, Masters of Illusion, the Travel Channel, and throughout shows up and down the Las Vegas Strip. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome to the proverbial stage the creative genius that is Bizzaro.
How's it going?
What's up, man?
Not much. That was probably the best intro I've had in a long time.
At least for 3 months, right?
At least, yeah, no, for sure, definitely not a whole lot else. Not a lot of call for my wife to say, "Here he is coming down the stairs for breakfast."
That's right. I try and give myself an intro every morning. I'm like, it's walking through the hall. It's walking to my kitchen like I own the place. Oh,
I remember there was a T-shirt that Think Geek used to have that had a speaker built in that you could play music, like you could walk into a room with your own theme music and stuff. It was really funny.
That's funny. I remember a T-shirt that came out like a haunted house or somebody had, but like you could put your iPhone in it and it would show like an eyeball or something. Like,
yeah.
I thought that was like the coolest thing. Yeah, that was like the coolest.
Those are still around. They're like they still sell those from time to time. But yeah, it was a cool idea. It still is. Yeah.
No, so all right, man. Well, let's just hop right into this thing. Obviously, Bizzaro, you're coming live from Las Vegas right now.
Yep.
For those, a lot of people that are going to watch this, a lot of people that are going to listen here on WCYN's 101.3 FM are not going to have any clue who you are. Unfortunately. Which is the way most of our lives end up being. We put in all this work to perform and be seen by all these people, and nobody ever hears of us.
To be fair, I mean, I actually have a bit in my show where I talk about how most people go their entire lives seeing maybe one magician live ever. Like they'll see him on TV, and I have a whole bit in my stand-up show, and I make a joke where I say, if I'm the one magician that you were seeing live for the rest of your life, I would just like to say, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, that happens all the time. Every show we do, we're like, oh, this is my first magic show. And I'm just like, man, like how? Like,
yeah, I mean, try living in Vegas. This place is lousy with magic. You see it all the time.
Yeah, that's true. I've only been once. So I guess kind of give everybody a brief synopsis of who you are, what you do, why they call you Bizzaro, and
well, I mean, they called me that because that's what I tell them to call me technically. Because I came up with the name when I was 13 and I liked it and it stuck. I'm a professional, just entertainer, weirdo, inventor, builder of strange things, from magic to escape rooms and all that stuff. And I'm originally from Texas. I grew up there, and then about 12 years ago, I moved to Las Vegas because I needed to go where there were no magicians. No, I needed to go where they just took performing seriously. Because as you probably know, there are certain parts of the South that aren't terribly progressive. And when you're a weirdo entertainer who likes to, like, I have to explain to people as a magician, people say, "Oh, you're a magician that conjures up certain images, like metal rings and doves and cars and all stuff." And I tell people, no, I'm not that kind of magician. Let's see, my show involves bringing bags of like Doritos to life, and they bite my face off, and I blow them up, and then shooting 3-foot flames out of my zipper. That's a magic show. If you come see my show, that's what you're gonna see. You're gonna see me vanish a Walmart bag and produce it from my mouth. It's weird stuff. The classics. But I also create a lot of magic for other magicians as well. I've worked for David Copperfield. I've worked for Michael Carbonaro, who had the Carbonaro effect. I've made props for Justin Willman on his Magic for Humans, and everywhere in between. So, but I'm the older I get, I become more of a behind the scenes guy. I'm the guy who basically my prop making website. Our new slogan is "We make other people look good."
Well, I mean that's definitely the truth in your case, from my perspective. So it's I mean, as we talked just a few days ago, for some stuff that we're trying to work on, and you giving me some tips and whatever. So it's in that aspect. How often in a normal world prior to coronavirus do you actually perform yourself?
It varies. My interest and my careers are so diverse. Like I do a bunch of different stuff. Sometimes performing will take up 3 months of my life. Sometimes it'll be once a month. Other times, like last year, October, November, I was doing a lecture tour through Spain for a whole month. So it just depends. Sometimes I'll go work consulting for a TV show for 2 months. It just depends. So there is no like schedule. I can't give you a number, so it just depends.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
I just stay very busy doing. Basically, because I try to stay busy in the entertainment business in some way or another. So it's more like, how often do I work in the entertainment business? Constantly. Yeah.
So in that aspect, then, see, most of the people I've had on here have been in most cases full-time entertainers, so they lost everything with coronavirus. But for you have different facets that encompass different areas. So how bad negatively has it affected you since you don't perform full-time, but you do other things? Because you do escape rooms and you build props and whatever. So has it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. There's definitely some slowdown for sure. It's like I haven't done any local shows in 3 months, obviously, and I probably won't do any for a while. But obviously people picked up the online show thing. So I did a handful of online performances for different things. I have friends who have somehow convinced people to pay them to do magic over Zoom for private parties on Zoom. And I'm like, boy, that's a racket. That's good for you. But yeah, no, it's like right before the lockdown happened, I had some big orders for props to do. So, it became one of those, it's like, hey, I need this thing. Oh, by the way, now there's no deadline, so take your time. So I got to kind of work on stuff at my leisure. But really, so here's what happened. Before all this went down, I was thinking to myself, man, I really need to take 3 months off, stop saying yes to projects so I can just work on personal stuff. Because I have a list of personal projects that I want to do for myself. But I keep having people wanting to give me money. And I'm like, I guess. And so when this happened, I went, well, I guess I'm taking that 3 month break that I wanted all right, let's do this. So I've spent the last 3 months kind of blissfully working on my own projects. Now, obviously, the one thing that helps also is I have a bunch of magic I've created that people buy. So I have residual income that kind of trickles in from sales of products and stuff that I don't have to leave my house to make, which is nice. So I've done better than some, not as well as others. It really is the thing. But my wife and I are paranoid, so we've saved up money because we knew just in case some medical emergency ever arose. And while this is not a medical emergency for us per se, we made sure to have money saved up in case something like this happened. And I know a lot of magicians are bad with money, and they did not save their money, and they were kind of screwed.
Yeah. I'm not one of those at all. No, no, it's bad because like I'm super great with money in terms of like I don't spend money on I don't blow money, but in terms of saving, I'm terrible. So it's like all my money has always went straight back into the business, and we've just invested everything. I wear
but I
wear Hanes Fruit of the Loom shirts 24/7. I don't wear expensive clothes. If you see me in a normal world, people that know me normally, I wear the same outfit every day. So it's like, they're like, hey, do you ever change? I'm like, yeah, I change every day. Sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, but you wouldn't know it. like I have 37 gray t-shirts. Like I have 47 black t-shirts. Like that's what I wear. Only thing. So, but yeah, in terms of saving, it's really bad. So when it hit us, it was like, okay, at first it was just like, well, I mean, we're good for a couple months, whatever, you know, like, I mean, we'll be fine, you know, like, but then all of a sudden it was like, there was no prediction of how long this was going to last, which there still isn't. But, we started getting, I lost all of my November, October, and September shows before I lost all of my May shows. And I was like, oh man, like, what are you talking about? Like I expected to lose May shows, but what about, like, what am I going to do for the rest of the year? Like when that happens, you know, now it's.
My friend Carissa, who you know, she was staying. She, like, a couple of gigs fell out, and so she came to crash on my couch for like a couple of days, which turned into a week, and then it turned into I have to go back to Canada, and I watched her every day. Like every day was a new report going, I don't have a gig, and like I lost this gig, I lost this gig, I lost this gig, I lost this gig, and I said, well, if you need to, you're welcome to stay here as long as you need, because. And then she's like, Canada. Like run over, make all the Canadians come over, and so she went back up home, and just watching somebody else just lose that many gigs all at once made me just kind of go, I'm glad I'm kind of been doing prop building and escape room building. I would be a little distraught right now, as well, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So it's and I've mentioned this on other podcasts, but like, you know, as you know, like I build websites. I used to own a big graphic design company, marketing firm. So I used to brand different companies and whatever. So when stuff started going down the hill, I developed that company because I was in a rough spot way back when. So that was how to get me out of that spot, because I already had the skills. I could just start offering it to people. So when everything started hitting, it was just the entertainment industry that was going away. So like at first it was just, we were just losing, but everybody else was still in business. Like nobody cared. And then I was like, all right, graphic design, websites, boom, boom, boom. I'll open that back up and I'll be good to go. Like I've got a whole list of clients that would hire me immediately if they knew I was back in the game. And then within like a week, that I had 180 people on a list that I knew would like just beg me to come back. And I was like, all right, 180 people. I'm sure some of them are affected, whatever. I'll figure it out. Within a week, all of them were closed. Every person. And I was like, what?
Yep.
What, you know, like, and then it's like, nobody's designing anything. Nobody's advertising anything. Everybody's shut down this and that. I'm like, holy crap.
It's that Scooby-Doo moment. You're like, ruh-roh.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's like, I just want to stay in the van. Like,
yeah, no, it definitely affected. I mean, it's because it affected everybody. It affected everybody. Like there was like, there are projects half finished in my garage for escape rooms, and I'm like, hey, do you guys still want this? Because if not, I need to move it out of my garage and sell it to somebody else.
No, it's so how many speaking of escape rooms, how many escape rooms do you run any, first of all, and then how many have you built and sold in Vegas area?
None in Vegas, because like the Vegas market is just now picking up over the last couple of years. Vegas was kind of a smaller market, and a lot of these people came in and didn't know who we were, so they already had their rooms and stuff built. You know, they came here, and so most of our stuff is in surrounding areas. Like we have like 4 in Reno. We had 3 in Utah, but I think that facility closed because of coronavirus. So those are just sitting there. So there's a place local that I repair stuff for and improve rooms. So they found out what I do, and they're like, hey, we need somebody to come in and fix things, because for those of you who don't know, escape rooms get lots of abuse. People are rough on escape rooms because like you put somebody in a room and it's rougher than haunted houses, because haunted houses you can at least put up barriers and stuff so people can't touch things and the actors are there. When an escape room, it's like, hey, everything is a clue, everything is a puzzle, have fun. And then they just start sticking. We had, so like 2 days before I came in, this place here locally. Its name is Heads Up, by the way, and they're a cool place. If you're ever in Vegas, go check them out. They have this one room that is an entire Western town built indoors. It's actually really neat, and that's actually what I was doing yesterday. I was fixing one of the puzzles they had bought from like a Chinese retailer was just done. It was just broke and not working, so I remade the whole thing. So I was installing that yesterday.
Gotcha.
And but anyway, so somebody had taken electrical wires. There was a lamp that was just a prop. It had nothing. It didn't do anything. It was just decor, and it had like a plug with bare wires, which shouldn't have been there to begin with. But let's skip past that. And people had taken the two bare wires and went, "Oh, there's no plug, so let's put them in an electrical outlet." And it backfired, hit one of the prop controllers, and caught it on fire. So there's a lot more that goes into escape rooms than just like, I built a room and some props. Like, no, you have to, I can't even say child-proof. You have to idiot-proof everything.
Yeah, that's, so as you know, I used to work for big haunted house, and that's kind of what I was saying. So like escape rooms are like tiny haunted houses with no rules. And
right.
even with haunted houses, people mess up everything, and you have to go in and fix everything, even with barriers and whatever. So like I can't imagine. I've never actually done an escape room, but I can imagine that's
well. You come to Vegas, we'll change that.
Yes,
we'll put you in a couple. You and your wife in a couple of them there.
Good deal. I'm going to need a place to stay, so that'll be good.
Well, we've got a futon. So outside on my, we have a place, a doormat out front of our house. It says Magic Hostel Performer Refuge. Right? because I know what it's like to be a performer, and I know what it's like to travel. It's like if somebody needs a place to crash, if they come through town, they're like, hey, I'm here an extra day. I can't afford a hotel. I'm like, here, we have a couch. We had my friend from Texas. He had a 5-piece metal band. They came through town, so I had like 5 metalheads just crashed in my living room and my magic room stuff. I'm like, whatever, man. So yeah, no, it's you guys come out. We'll take care of you.
All right. We were actually planning to come out back in January, and then everything started going south. So it's we stayed south-ish. So hopefully by the end of the year we'll get to start traveling again. So one of the things
yeah, no, for sure.
One of the things that I find super interesting about you, which is I can't fathom. I'm very creative as a person, doing graphic design and websites and whatever. But when it comes to designing magic, like I'm good with ideas, but creating the methods or whatever, because people don't realize. People see this stuff and they think, man, like the guy's got, he sold his soul. And I always tell people, man, it would be a lot easier to sell my soul. Like I promise you, like that route would be a lot easier. Like
it'd be easier. It'd be cheaper. It'd be a number of things.
Yeah. But yeah. So how? First off, how did you get into creating magic for other people? And is there any like one effect that you've created for someone that you're like super proud of, or that was the one that topped them all, or something so far?
I mean, well, because everybody's different, it's like certain things you make for certain people, somebody will be like, oh, that was okay. And you're like, that's great. And everybody's like, oh, but this thing over here. And I'm like, that's crap, but okay, whatever. So, I mean, I got into it because I was doing it for myself. I had all these weird ideas, and you can't buy giant eyeballs from a magic store. So you're like, okay, well, how do I make that? And also being into special effects makeup and horror movies and stuff growing up, and Halloween, I had an interest in how to make weird stuff. And, if you want to make your own, weird Halloween props, of course, you learn about, latex and silicone and plaster and mold making and all that stuff. So I grew up going to like these sci-fi comic book conventions in Dallas, and we would hang. My parents were friends with the people who ran them, so we hung out with all the guests and stuff. And they had a few special effects guys come through, and I would just bug them so much. I was like I was like 10 or 12 or whatever, and I was just, these guys were like, all right, kid, just here, we'll show you this stuff. But I always made stuff for myself. And then as I got older, I started using those skills to help my friends create magic, who are also magicians. And then about a decade ago, after I moved to Vegas, I said, I can't perform forever, and there'll be a time when I may not want to anymore. So I'm going to start offering my services as a creative builder, director, whatever. And I thought, as performing was going down, this would even out. So I could slowly build this. Well, turns out there's a need for what I do, and so it was one of these things where I'm like, it just shot up real fast, and I went, oh, okay, I didn't expect that. So I because I have a weird way of looking at the world, and I've also learned a lot about the world, and that's one thing I tell people. It's like, learn about all the weird stuff that's outside of magic in the world, because the method to create certain ideas, it does not exist in magic most of the time. I'll be walking through a hardware store and be like, hey, you know what that looks like? Ooh, that gives me an idea. So it's a lot of just me paying attention to what's out there, and also I have kind of a nothing's impossible mentality. It's like, because people will be like, hey, I want to do this. Is this possible? I go, yes. How much time and money do you have?
Exactly, yeah. No, everything that's ever been considered as impossible has been possible at some point in time, as time's progressed and new things are invented. And yeah, that's something I really like, is being able to like go to Lowe's and see things for, like, I go to my local hardware store all the time, and they're like, what are you looking for? I was like, I don't know. I need something round that's about this long, and then I need something else. And like, what are you using it for? I was like, a magic trick. Do you sell magic trick prop building kits here? So like, I don't know how to. I'm not buying actual plumbing supplies to fix my pipes. Like, I'm buying PVC to make magic tricks. Like,
it's rough when you go into like Innie's hardware store and they're like, I need a thing, and they're like, well, what thing do you need? Well, it's hard to explain. Here. And then you bring out the thing you brought in, and you go, look, here's this thing, and it's not going to do what it looks like it's supposed to do.
Exactly.
I mean, I will say the fact that we live in the future now is great, because I can design something I need and 3D print it on my 3D printer. It's like the fact that we can now make our own stuff just by sheer force of will is great.
Yeah, that's something that I haven't dove into yet, that's on my list, on my whatever list, my bucket list, whatever you want to call it, because like I have a lot of ideas of things that I can't figure out.
I can tell you a good entry level 3D printer to get when you're ready to jump in. We can talk about that. I know I can direct you into the right places for that kind of stuff.
I will definitely take you up on that offer at some point in time when I'm making money again. So as I previously mentioned, this episode's going to be broadcast on WCYN's 101.3 FM here in Cynthiana, Kentucky. Cynthiana, Kentucky is home of The Walking Dead. It's where The Walking Dead TV show was created. And we were the first city in Kentucky to have a case of the coronavirus, which I think is very fitting, since the whole zombie apocalypse was supposed to start here anyways.
Right.
So it's that's very cool. But yeah, we're gonna have to take a commercial break real quick here in just a few minutes. So I wanted to mention that. I wanted to say so like I brought a prop from you. Like, do you have anything, like, we got a shorter period of time? Do you have anything that you could show us that you've built, like, that wouldn't take long to
Yeah, no. So as I said, I was using this time to make stuff that I've been meaning to do. So like, here's a silicone mold of a thing that I was working on to make resin casts. So here is, a little zombie gingerbread man thing. This is for a friend of mine that she would need me to make something for. So I took a cookie cutter, poured some silicone on it, poured some stuff in it, and voila. The big thing that I was working on I got time to do was these locks here. These are... Oh, yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, these look like vintage locks, but they're actually built over modern locks.
Yes.
So these are actually modern day locks that just to look old. These are obviously for escape rooms and stuff like that. So this is the it's so rusted I can't believe it works model. And then I have a more like iron lock looking model here and stuff. And these are all, I designed all these and in like a CAD program, and then 3D printed them and all that stuff. So and then I painted them, of course, to look distressed. So yeah, so this is what I've been working on in quarantine, is my own these things.
Heck yeah, I love that stuff. I love aging stuff. That's one of the things I miss about working in haunted houses, was distressing everything and making it look old. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Well, we're hanging out here with Bizzaro on episode 7 of Quarantainment, the Socially Distant Podcast. I hope you tune in for the second half. We'll be right back.
And we're back to the Quarantainment Podcast. Here's your host, Reed Masterson.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Quarantainment, the Socially Distant Podcast. I'm hanging out here with Bizzaro, the Optical Illusionist. Is that what it is? Is that what you call yourself?
Yeah.
The Optical Illusionist. I love that. It's such a different title, Bizzaro, the Optical Illusionist, which is very fitting. If you've never seen Bizzaro work in any fashion, go check him out on YouTube or Facebook or, well, anywhere. It's definitely a fitting title for Bizzaro. So, all right, man. Well, welcome back. Second half. Excited to get this half going. One of the things that we like to do, that my better half likes to do at the beginning of the second half, is we do this thing called, and I have to say it slow, we do this thing called Ashton, because that's her name. Ashton Asks. If I say that fast, then I have to bleep it out. So yeah, so Ashton Asks, she records a question or something to you, and then you answer it. So we're gonna do that real quick and see.
And if I don't answer it, does she hunt me down? Like, what is the consequence for not answering the question?
Well, it's you should have thought of that before you offered a place to stay in Vegas. Like, oh man, now she's coming to my house. No, I don't know what it is, but she usually has some pretty cool questions. So let's see what she's got here.
Hey Bizzaro, it is awesome having you on the podcast. I just have 2 questions for you. 1, do you prefer performing as a silent or non-silent performer? And 2, if you could perform alongside any other person in the world, living or dead, who would you like to collaborate with that you haven't already? Thanks again for being on the podcast. I know things are starting to open up there in Las Vegas, and I hope that you stay safe and healthy. Have a great night.
She sounds so sweet and innocent.
I know, that was so polite. Where is she from? Canada? What is that?
She's a liar. She's a liar. Like, don't listen to her.
She's like, I don't. She doesn't really hope you stay healthy and safe. Don't let that. That's fine.
No, so that's 2 good questions. She said, who would you like to collaborate with, living or dead, that you haven't already? And then you also do a silent act as well, which is different. Most live performers don't do silent shows. They have a spot that, or most audible performers, people that talk, don't do silent shows, and you do, right? So
yeah, I started as a silent performer, or as Jeff McBride is trying to push for. He's trying to not call it silent because there's music, so he's calling it performance with musical accompaniment or something like that. I'm like, it's both. I mean, the performer is silent technically. So
gotcha.
Yeah. So I started performing silently because I just liked it growing up. Well, I grew up wanting to do manipulation, and people. I grew up in the era of World's Greatest Magic. The mid 90s kind of magic stuff like that. And there's a lot of silent acts, and I'm like, I like that. That's cool. I want to do that. And so I worked very hard to have I have 45 minutes of silent material easily, right? And I've found that people, unless you're at a fringe festival or you're like somebody like Cirque or Abner the Eccentric, nobody wants to sit through 45 minutes of some guy they don't know being not talking. And so I came to that realization a number of years ago, and so I'm like, all right, so I have 2, because I actually used to do, and there's more to the story to this. So I used to mix talking and silent. So I used to have stand-up pieces with talking, and I used to have silent pieces. But they were 2 different energies, if that makes sense. Like, my silent performing is way more high energy than my talking. My talking is a little more comedy based. So they were 2 different energies, and I used to mix the 2. And there came a point when I decided to never do that again. It's like the silent act is the silent act, the talking act is the talking act.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean I don't have silent material in the talking act. It's just silent material that matches talking act. So if you see my full like hour stand-up talking show, there are 2 or 3 silent pieces, but they are very, very different compared to the way I perform silently. But at the end of so what I do now, if somebody's like, we need you to do 20 minutes, then I'll do silent. If they need an hour, then I do talking. And so that's where I'm at now. But given the choice, if somebody says, hey, you can do 20 minutes, 15 minutes talking or silent, which would you do? It's always almost, depending how I feel, but almost always 9 out of 10 times it's going to be silent, because that's just where my heart is.
Gotcha. Okay.
The other one's difficult because since moving to Vegas, I've gotten to hang out and work with most of the people who I've wanted to. Like those goals kind of were achieved, and so it's like it's the living or dead thing that throws me. It's like I'm like I don't know. I honestly can't think of anybody who I'd just be like, oh, I would love to work with this guy, because I like growing up, the people who so you as a young kid watching Magic, you grow up and you see guys like David Copperfield, and you was not anymore. Obviously, that era's gone. But growing up, I would watch guys like Copperfield, and then again, you'd watch guys like Lance Burton, and then you'd have the World's Greatest Magic, which had 20 different magicians on it, right? So you get to see all these guys.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there was a show called World's Greatest Magic, and it used to come on around Thanksgiving from like 94 to 99, I think, because it was 5 years.
Yeah, something
so
like
90,
that.
Yeah, something like that. So, and you can find these sometimes on YouTube. If you look them up, you'll find some of this stuff. Sometimes they get uploaded and they get taken down. So sometimes you'll get lucky and find them online.
They were amazing.
But they were basically a variety show. It was tons of different magicians every episode, every special, and they ranged from close-up guys to silent to talking to comedy. Everybody. There was so many people on these shows, and so I was lucky enough. And you've probably seen these shows, right?
That's how I got started, actually. So yeah, I was I was watching World's Greatest Magic back in '96 and saw the Pin Dragons. And that was it. It
influenced a whole generation of us. And then, of course, in like late '90s, David Blaine came along and messed things up. That's a whole other story. But no, those shows influenced a whole generation of us. So it's like I got a healthy dose of variety in my life and watching Magic. So there's so many magicians out there that I've gotten to meet from those shows and hang out with and become friends with or work for and things like that. So, but I was never influenced by, I would say, any of the dead guys. Like I was never like, Houdini is my idol. I love Keller and Blackstone. Like that's like probably 2 generations before me, and so there's and there's people who definitely passed I wished I'd spent more time with, hanging out with, like I wished I'd spent more time with Johnny Thompson before he passed, or I wished I could have gotten to know Tom Mullica a little better before he passed, stuff like that. But there's nobody that jumps to mind, because my 4 go-to guys growing up watching Magic was Amazing Jonathan, Penn and Teller, Sylvester the Jester, and Rudy Kobe. So those are the 4 performers who opened my eyes to what Magic could be. I was like, oh, the Magic is a tool in a toolbox. It's not the main focus. Like I can use Magic to kind of deliver a message instead of just being like, I am just a magician. Yeah. So that was kind of, and all those guys I've gotten to work with and hang out with all of them. So I'm just kind of like, if something comes to me, I'll let you know, but there's nothing that jumps out at me that I'm just like, this is the guy who I wished I could have hung out with, unfortunately. So
no, that's one of the like that opportunity to work with different people like that. It's very situational. That are very not situational, but like you're in Vegas, I'm in Kentucky. I'm in Kentucky, and there's nobody here. So like I have to travel way far to be able to experience and get to actually develop a relationship. You were in Texas, you had the same thing, but you moved to Vegas and opened up a lot of doors.
And I got to, getting to work with Copperfield, like I got hired to make Magic for him that has not seen the light of day yet. So I can't say what it was. I could just say I worked for him. But there was a moment where I was, doing some work, and we were at his house and going over stuff and talking about ideas. And there's a 12-year-old inside of me going, what is happening? How did we get here? What is this?
Yeah.
Why are we here? I need to leave. I'm nervous. What's going? It's like when you walk into a nice hotel and you feel they're going to come up to you and go like, "Sir, you don't need to be here."
Yeah. No, I definitely understand that. I've gotten to do shows with a few people that I never considered I would get to even meet, or whatever, and those shows were very very much like that for me. Performing, I was like, hey, I'm like, in this setting, I'm on their level, and it's like, in my world, they're light years above me. But in this setting, like we're on the same show doing the same thing, and everybody's here to see us the same. Like, and that's really cool. So I understand that.
It's a weird feeling. I got to perform with Meatloaf in his show here in Vegas. I was in his show for about 9 months, and I was fire eating, doing fire performing and stuff like that. And getting to hang out backstage with Meatloaf and all these rock and roll guys, because I love live music and I grew up working in the live music venues in Texas. I was like, this is great. I love this. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to do magic and rock and roll shows. So this is a dream come true to get to hang out with Meatloaf, who's a super huggy guy, and watch pyro and crazy inflatables. And I miss rock spectacle. I grew up seeing it. I used to go watch ZZ Top when I was a kid with my parents, and they put on amazing shows. And I mean, and my parents would tell me about watching like Pink Floyd and the crazy stuff they used to do when they were growing up and younger. And it's like, I love this, and it's not a thing. Like it is a thing, but not with rock bands. It's all like pop stars and rap stars now doing crazy spectacle stuff.
Yeah.
But I miss rock spectacle specifically.
Yeah, I think the energy's a lot different because the energy of the performer is like the show is an extension of the energy of the performer, and I think with like pop singers and stuff like that, not in a negative way or to discredit them, but like I think the show is to try and make them bigger and just to give them more energy, not an extension of or whatever. And I think like Kiss could be Kiss with or without the pyros, like so like right. It's like it made sense, but like it's if you go watch like Katy Perry, maybe that show isn't as exciting if it's just Katy Perry. Maybe, I don't know, but that's my interpretation of it.
No, for sure. I think we live in a different time, especially it's like guys like, well, let's just use ZZ Top example. They basically say, we want this. This is our vision. Yeah. And pop stars have a whole team of people behind them who come up to them and go, it's like, she has a creative director, and that's his vision, not her vision. And of course, she has input and everything like that. But, she's running around possibly singing to a recorded track, and she's basically, she's a cog in a machine, kind of, if that makes sense. Without being part of it, I don't know, but I suspect a lot of it isn't really them.
Yeah, no, that's the feeling I get as well, because that's like I said, like it's with rock stars, like they created that whole world. That world didn't exist until they created it, and then they.
Well, it's like if you watch Iron Maiden, and you're like, oh, these guys, this is definitely them, because it's definitely somebody. Now they may have hired somebody to create those ideas, but they were like, this is our look, this is our aesthetic. Go.
Yeah, this is what we want. Yeah, that's.
And these guys are sitting around high as a kite going, it'd be great if we had a giant 20-foot tall inflatable of this thing. And it's like, all right.
Yeah, no, and when you have that, when you reach that level of success, what you are allowed to do and people don't tell you no, like, or people, you're just like, well, I have money and it's my show.
Yeah.
Do what I want.
And what's the saying? It's like poor people are crazy, rich people are eccentric.
Yeah, kind of. Which that's what I like about magic, because magic is so interpretational, like, and you don't have rules and regulations to follow. I don't have to abide by these certain aesthetics or whatever. Like it is my show no matter what. Like and you're hiring me. Like, so when you hire me, you already knew what you were hiring. So it's like that's what I created. So I made the rules. Right. And there's nothing, like it's and they can't dictate. They don't even know what it is. Like
Yeah.
People like to ask you to do random things, and they just which then makes it hard because they don't understand what they're asking, and they don't understand.
Yeah.
They don't understand the time that goes behind creating things, which is something that is crazy. A lot of people, like, you know, I do a dove act in my show, and it takes like 45 minutes, give or take, to get it all set up and get it ready, get the birds ready, whatever. It's a 6-minute and 38-second act. It takes about 30 minutes to pack it all back up, and then I've spent 15 years developing it. So like 15 years, and then every day is, you know, like an hour and a half of work just to do that 6-minute and 30 seconds.
Well, I mean, Lance Burton had a line in his show. He would do his act. He'd say, "You just witnessed 20 years of my life jam-packed into 2 minutes."
Yeah, and it's not a lie. People don't understand. Like, it's not a lie at all how much time and
it's because magic, our skill is we spend our whole lives hiding our skill. You know, it's like a painting. You can look at it and go, well, there's clearly skill on display, and it's like the skill is hiding the fact that we have no skill.
Yeah, I mean, it's it makes it so complicated to explain to people because there's nothing to explain.
Well, I will say sometimes even if the skill is, even if you're, so I was just talking about this, if you're hired for your expertise, doesn't mean people are going to listen to it. Yeah. I've been hired to do certain things. There was, because you and I were talking about websites earlier. There was a website, it's still around, but not as active as it used to be. It was called websitesthatsuck.com, right? And it was the whole concept, and they had a book that they put out. And the whole concept was learning good web design by looking at bad web design. It's like watching Bad Magicians to be like, don't do that, you know, whatever. And so in the book, he had this thing where he said, we need a tag that you put in the HTML that only other designers will see, that basically it was like the BWT or something, like boss wanted this. So somebody looks at it and goes, this is terrible. You go on the source code and you go, oh, that's why. The client wanted this, but, you know, it's like, because I've seen, I mean, I don't know if you've ever hidden like messages in the source code just for yourself for clients.
I've hidden things on websites, yeah.
Yeah, but just because you know it, just because you're hired for your expertise doesn't mean anybody will listen to it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I didn't like about when I ran my marketing company is like, you hired me to do this, but you're giving me input, but you hired me because you don't have input. Like, you don't know how to do this, and you don't know whatever, and you hire somebody that's a professional, but then you tell them how to do their job, which then makes it really complicated. Like, it's like, oh, I can't do my job because you're telling me how to do it, and you don't know how to do it. So it makes it weird.
Isn't that fun?
It's a complicated process for sure. So I wanted to ask about. You've created. Have you ever created an effect like so? Like you spend all this time working on all these effects. Like, what is one effect that? Well, you said you worked on something for Copperfield, right? And that's been like in the process for how long now? And nobody's ever seen it.
Oh well, no. The stuff was done. It was a 3-month project. We got it done, but it was for like talk shows and things like that, so he hasn't had a chance to do them. He hasn't had a chance to. So I mean, he's also a collector of things. Like, he has many things that are just in his warehouse in a box somewhere that he's waiting for the right time to use. So, you know, we've got these effects that are just waiting to be done at some point.
What's okay? So let me ask it this then. What's one thing in your personal show that you developed, you rehearsed, you did everything, and finally got it in the show, but it took forever, and it only takes up 2 or 3 minutes or whatever, but it took 6 years to figure it out and get it all together?
Well, I mean, that's most things.
What's a one real prominent thing that you do in your show?
So it depends. Like, I have created. Sometimes ideas will sit in my head for a very long time. Like, I've created stuff that I would say didn't come full circle, because I create a lot of things, test them, make sure they work, and then I put them aside and I don't touch them again for sometimes ever, or sometimes 9 years later, and then usually it's a reason. It's like, what's the example I have right now? I put something into my show. So I had this idea, it's currently my talking show, that actually a better example, I'll tell you what, a better example would be this, there's an effect that's on social media. It's an Oreo trick because of course it is. And so I had this one thing I created for somebody else, and eventually ended up doing it myself. It was a square box, one of those little 12 cookie snack packets, right? And so I created this idea where you would rip it open and you show both sides very cleanly, and then you would put it together and you pour Oreos out, right? There's video of it online. And so I thought to myself, okay, if I could do it with a small package, what about one of the big packages? What about one of the ones that has like a full package? Like how? But those you have to rip open from the top.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, how do I do this? And that was an off and on experimentation for 2 years of me messing with different ideas, not working, and then putting it away and going, all right, well, next time, and then I'd be like, oh, let's try this. No. And then one day, this goes back to our previous conversation, I'm in a hardware store and I see a thing and I go, oh, I got it. I know exactly how to make this work now. And so, I created it and I was like, what do I do with it now? Now that it works, I have nothing. I don't know what to use this for.
Yeah.
And so it actually ended up becoming a YouTube video that I made. It's on, it's like if you go to my YouTube, it's on there. I think it's also on my website, the video section of me. And so it's basically an empty package of Oreos you shake and they all visibly appear. Like 30 Oreos or more appear in the package. So
yeah, I've seen that video. I love that.
Yeah, that took probably 2 years of me just sitting on it and trying to figure it out. And then I've just got other things that I created 9 years ago, and then I revisited it, and it was 9 years later, there it is, so it's...
Yeah. All right, man. Well, unfortunately, I'm running out of time where this is broadcast on the radio, so I truly appreciate you being on this week's episode, and I look forward to chatting with you. Thank you so much for watching Quarantainment, the Socially Distant Podcast. My name's Reed Masterson, and I'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Quarantainment, a socially distant podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, retweet, share, comment, and anything else you can do from at least 6 feet away. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay home, and above all else, stay creative. Join us next week. Same time, same place, same host, new interviews. For more info on the entire Quarantainment series of events, visit mastersonsmagic.com.